What if I told you that the Dallas Cowboys America's team, a franchise with an unmatched legacy and an ever-growing hunger for another championship, made one of the most shocking, aggressive, and potentially game-changing moves in recent NFL memory by trading for none other than Fred Warner, the all-pro linebacker and field general of the San Francisco 49ers? That's right, imagine a Dallas defense led not only by Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Trevon Diggs but also anchored in the middle by Warner, arguably the smartest and most versatile linebacker in football today. The NFL landscape would shift immediately. Let's take a deep breath and actually unpack this scenario, because even if it's hypothetical for now, it's too juicy to ignore, and the implications are massive. For years, the Cowboys have struggled with identity on the defensive side of the ball. They've had flashes of brilliance: Micah Parsons terrorizing QBs, Trevon Diggs leading the league in interceptions, Dan Quinn dialing up aggressive pressure packages, but there's always been a sense that something was missing in the middle. A true leader, a communicator, a tone setter who could be both the brains and the brawn of the defense. And that's where Fred Warner comes in. He's not just any linebacker. He's the linebacker that every modern NFL defense dreams of: a sideline-to-sideline menace with elite coverage ability, high football IQ, toughness, instincts, and perhaps most importantly, leadership. He diagnoses plays faster than almost anyone else in the league. He neutralizes tight ends in the passing game. He rallies the front seven. He gets everyone aligned, and he never takes a play off. So, picture the Cowboys front office: Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Will McClay sitting in the war room looking at their roster and realizing, we've got explosive pieces, but we're missing the guy who brings it all together. That's when Fred Warner's name hits the whiteboard. And suddenly, this defense goes from dangerous to downright terrifying. You throw Warner into that mix, and everything changes. Offenses would be forced to gameplan for him the same way they already do for Parsons. Quarterbacks would have to identify him on every snap. Offensive coordinators would lose sleep trying to figure out how to run or pass through the middle of that defense. And now you've got not just a dominant pass rush and ball-hawking corners, you've got a fortress in the heart of the field. Think about the ripple effect. Warner's presence would instantly raise the floor of the defense and likely the ceiling as well. His ability to read offenses pre-snap, adjust alignments, and make live calls would take massive pressure off the coaching staff and his teammates. Younger linebackers like Damone Clark or DeMarvion Overshown would benefit from his mentorship and example, improving their own development trajectory. Parsons could even be used more creatively, perhaps with more time rushing off the edge while Warner controls the second level. And suddenly, the Cowboys' defensive strategy becomes less reactive and more dictating. Opponents won't just be attacking Dallas, they'll be responding to what Dallas is showing them. Warner gives the Cowboys not just a player, but a personality shift on defense. And let's not ignore the culture aspect. Warner is known around the league for his work ethic, professionalism, and relentless pursuit of greatness. Bringing him into a Cowboys locker room that already features a blend of young stars and veterans would inject an even deeper level of accountability. Fred Warner doesn't coast. He doesn't take shortcuts. He doesn't accept mediocrity. And that mindset, when reinforced day in and day out, would bleed into every linebacker meeting, every practice rep, and every fourth quarter of a close game. His leadership wouldn't just make the Cowboys better on paper, it would elevate them spiritually, emotionally, and competitively. Now, I know what you're thinking: isn't he locked up long-term with the 49ers? And yes, in reality, Warner is under contract and a centerpiece of San Francisco's elite defense. But let's suspend reality just a bit here and ask, what if the 49ers decide to pivot? What if they need cap relief, or want to reload through draft capital, or simply feel that Warner's value is highest right now? Teams make shocking trades all the time. Just in the past few seasons, we've seen elite defenders like Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, Roquan Smith, and even Khalil Mack change teams sometimes mid-season. If Dallas were to step up with a first-rounder and maybe a mid-round pick or a young player, it's not impossible to imagine a scenario where a trade could happen. And honestly, from a strategic standpoint, it could be the final piece the Cowboys need to finally break through the playoff ceiling. Because let's be real, the Cowboys' biggest issue in the last decade hasn't been talent, it's been consistency and composure in the biggest moments. Whether it's the defense folding late, communication breakdowns, or simply being outcoached, those January letdowns have haunted this team. A player like Warner thrives in those pressure-packed situations. He's battle-tested, he's been in the Super Bowl. He's played in high-stakes NFC championship games. He knows what it takes to win when the lights are the brightest. And that experience would be invaluable to a Cowboys team still trying to figure out how to win in the postseason. On the field, his impact would be immediate. You'd likely see opposing offenses struggle with the Cowboys' improved zone coverage and run fits. Warner's instincts in reading RPOs, play action, and quick-hitting passes would shrink windows for quarterbacks and force more checkdowns or throwaways. He'd help take away the tight end middle seam route that has burned Dallas in the past. And he'd enable the secondary to play more aggressively, knowing the linebackers have their backs. Moreover, with Warner in the fold, Dan Quinn or whoever is coordinating the defense would have a chess piece like no other. You could disguise blitzes better. Rotate coverages pre- and post-snap. Bait quarterbacks into thinking a zone is open when it's not. And imagine the film room during the week, Warner breaking down opposing offenses, pointing out tendencies, leading the prep. That's the kind of veteran edge that wins games in December and January. And while this move would require cap gymnastics, restructuring Doc's deal, moving on from other veterans, or backloading Warner's contract, we've seen NFL teams pull off cap magic year after year. If there's a will, there's a way. And let's not ignore how the fanbase would react. The moment news drops that Fred Warner is heading to Dallas, social media explodes, jerseys sell out, the national media shifts its focus from can the Cowboys finally get over the hump? To is this the most complete team in the NFC? And maybe for once, that hype would be justified. Warner brings legitimacy, stability, championship habits. That's not something you find easily. And when you consider the current makeup of the NFC with teams like the Eagles, Lions, and 49ers themselves looming, Dallas needs every edge it can get. Fred Warner might be that edge. Of course, there's risk. As with any blockbuster move, the price is steep. Draft picks are precious. Chemistry can be disrupted. Expectations skyrocket. If Warner were to get injured or not fit the scheme, critics would pounce. But the Cowboys aren't in a rebuild, they're in a win-now window. And if you believe your time is now, you don't wait for next year. You swing big, you invest in sure things. And few defenders are as close to a sure thing as Fred Warner. This isn't just about X's and O's, it's about culture, timing, and guts. This is about changing the narrative, changing the tone of your locker room, and sending a message to your fans and to the rest of the league: we're done coming close. We're done losing to the 49ers in January. We're done being a highlight reel for other teams' playoff runs. We're building something that can dominate from week 1 to the Super Bowl. Warner could be that foundation. Now imagine it's week 3 of the regular season. The Cowboys are playing the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Jalen Hurts rolls out on a bootleg. He's looking for Dallas Goedert across the middle. He fires it and Fred Warner, reading it the entire way, jumps the route and picks it off. The crowd at AT&T Stadium erupts. Parsons rushes over to celebrate. The defense holds up the no-fly zone sign. And just like that, it's clear the Cowboys have a new identity. One rooted in dominance, in leadership, in relentless pursuit of greatness. And it all started with one bold move: trading for Fred Warner. What a world that would be. Let me know what you think. Would you make that trade if you were Dallas? What would you be willing to give up to land a leader like Warner? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, because I've got more deep dives coming on the Cowboys, potential trades, and how this team can finally get back to the Super Bowl. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Cowboys!